This is Neural Newscast for Monday, August 17th, 2026.
Here is what matters this morning.
From Neural Newscast, I'm Thomas Keene.
And I'm Isabel Moreno.
Russia is reporting its largest-scale drone attack of the year following a massive Ukrainian barrage overnight. The Russian Ministry of Defense claims to have intercepted 822 drones, with 600 of those targeting the outskirts of Moscow.
Authorities say the strikes killed at least 7 people, including a woman on a bus in Belgorod and an 83-year-old man in the Moscow region. Ukraine also successfully disabled several logistics centers belonging to Wildberries, a major online retailer used to move Russian military supplies.
In response, Russian forces intensified their bombardment of Ukraine, launching over 1,500 attack drones and 60 missiles throughout the week. A strike on the port city of Odesa damaged a civilian vessel yesterday, while guided bombs in Zaporizhzhia killed 2 people in their home.
This escalation suggests both sides are increasingly bypassing air defenses to strike deep into enemy territory. Major General Vadim Skibitsky told the BBC that long-range strikes will continue as Kyiv targets the logistical networks Russia uses to sustain its invasion.
Turning to a significant development in Eastern Europe, a Spanish F-18 jet on a NATO air policing mission shot down a drone over Romania. The Romanian Ministry of National Defense says the target entered their airspace from neighboring Moldova.
This marks the 4th drone downed in Romania this year, as the alliance remains on high alert. NATO spokesperson Martin O'Donnell says the incident is under investigation, though preliminary findings suggest the drone was Russian in origin.
Meanwhile, record-breaking rainfall has triggered a deadly landslide in South Korea's Gyeongsang province. The city of Gyeoje recorded 124 millimeters of rain in just 1 hour, the highest rate since records began in 1972.
1 person died and 2 others were injured when a landslide buried the first floor of an apartment building in Gyeoje this morning. Local authorities have suspended bus operations and waste collection while warning residents to avoid riverbanks and flooded roads.
The storms are also affecting Japan, where unprecedented rainfall in Chiba Prefecture has left 10 people dead. In one case, a man in his 30s died from carbon monoxide poisoning after using a generator during a massive power outage.
Narita Airport saw thousands of passengers stranded earlier this week as the deluge cut power to over 20,000 households. Forecasters attribute this year's intense typhoon season to a strong El Niño pattern that has been elevating global temperatures since June. Beyond the immediate strikes, the conflict in Ukraine is continuing to affect regional energy security. The Ukrainian energy company Naftogaz reports that Russia has attacked its facilities 13 times over the past week alone. These strikes appear aimed at deterring foreign trade and disabling Black Sea shipping routes. This is also impacting the agricultural sector, as several major grain export terminals have been targeted recently. In other news, the medical community is scrutinizing the erectile dysfunction drug tadalafil, better known as Cialis, for potential longevity benefits. Observational studies show men taking the drug have significantly lower rates of cardiovascular disease and dementia. One analysis of 80,000 men found a 55% lower rate of death from cardiovascular causes. While these drugs help dilate blood vessels, experts like Dr. Robert Kloner caution that the findings are currently associative rather than causal. Online wellness clinics have already begun marketing low-dose tadalafil as a preventative health measure. However, some cardiologists argue that without randomized controlled trials, justifying off-label use for longevity remains difficult. It is an interesting intersection of biohacking culture and traditional cardiology. For now, the drugs are considered safe, but the gap between observational data and clinical proof remains a major point of contention for physicians. Next, we move to Chicago, where St. Louis Cardinals rookie Joshua Báez has made Major League Baseball history. The 23-year-old left fielder became the first player ever to homer in his first 3 career at-bats. Báez led the Cardinals to an 8-4 victory over the Cubs on Saturday, driving in 5 runs total. He hit the first pitch he saw into the Wrigley Field bleachers and followed it with 2 more home runs in his next 2 appearances.
The performance provided a needed boost for St. Louis after dropping the series opener. Pitcher Michael McGreevy earned the win, allowing 3 unearned runs while striking out 6 over 6 innings.
It was a dominant showing against Chicago's Matthew Boyd, who allowed 7 runs. The series concludes this afternoon with a matchup between Hunter Dobbins and Edward Cabrera. Turning back to global shipping, the Black Sea continues to pose risks for civilian vessels due to floating mines and an increase in unmanned sea drones, which are complicating regional maritime trade. Finally, the United Nations reports that civilian casualties in Ukraine hit their highest level since 2022 last month. With over 400 killed in July, the human cost of the infrastructure bombardment remains staggering. Here is what else we are watching. South Korean emergency services are monitoring a second weather system moving toward the Gyeongsang province as cleanup efforts from the GOJ landslide continue.
In the medical field, an expert panel is scheduled to meet later this month to evaluate the merits of tadalafil for broader cardiovascular applications. The discussion could pave the way for formal clinical trials.
The Cardinals and Cubs series finale takes place this afternoon at Wrigley Field. All eyes will be on Joshua Báez to see if he can maintain his momentum as he faces Edward Cabrera.
We will also be tracking the diplomatic response to the Romanian drone incident. NATO officials are expected to release a detailed assessment of the drone's trajectory by the end of the day.
Tomorrow, we will take a closer look at the global supply chain impacts of the storms in East Asia and how infrastructure damage could delay tech exports.
From Neural Newscast, I'm Isabel Moreno.
And I'm Thomas Keene.
This has been Neural Newscast. Thanks for listening.
Neural Newscast is AI-assisted, human-reviewed. View our AI transparency policy at neuralnewscast.com.